Today I visit with John Fennell out of Columbia, Missouri. I'm Rick J, and this is Spotlight on the Arts.
Rick J presents Spotlight on the Arts.
Welcome back, everyone, to Spotlight on the Arts. I continue my discussion, our chat with artist John Fennell out of Columbia, Missouri. So welcome back, everyone. Well, John, before the break, you shared a lot of information. So let's continue along those lines of thought and expression. Please describe your types of art.
Well, I paint both landscapes and abstractions, and I have a method for reasoning for doing this. I started out as a landscape painter, and it really inspired me. And for decades, I painted only landscape painting. But I'm a really curious person, and I'm looking at the world of modern art before me, and I thought, what don't I know about this? From one of my teachers, Milford Zorns, I really learned about Cezanne. And from him, I got very interested in Cubism. And both George Braque and Picasso and all the painters who followed, especially Matisse. Matisse became a hero of mine. And I thought, what do they know? Why are they painting the way they paint? It inspired me to continue my landscape painting, but also to experiment, to simplify forms, to enhance my color in the color that I was using, to really kind of push forward my personal boundaries that I thought I had with landscape painting. And so I would find out myself painting a landscape one day, going outside to paint,
yes.
And then the next day I would be in the studio doing a abstract.
Huh?
And what I learned in this process is that one feeds the other, that landscapes in this design are basically a structural element, like an abstract painting. They'll have, like Cezanne taught us, all of these have parts that fit together in a landscape. And
sure.
if one part falls apart, the painting falls apart. And then it's a natural kind of...
natural structuring.
Right, natural structuring. Mm-hmm. And then from there...
Mother Nature.
Exactly right. And from there, what you see is that when you start looking at pure form,
yes.
like you can do I started doing like still lifes, but I would simplify the shapes. Like a flower would become just a small, simple shape among the background of books or something, which were just linear objects. I have a painting like that, and it excited me to no end. I didn't know why, because it was for the first time I was able to see something differently.
Yes.
To actually convey that on a canvas.
Right.
It excited me. And so I kept pushing this. And what I learned too is that abstract work feeds landscape, and landscape feeds abstract. And from Matisse, I learned that color is its own language.
Yes,
that it is
definitely.
The beauty of color and how these colors work together that are I think that bring the eye to see things so beautiful.
And that can be in any form. That can be in an abstract or into a...
Exactly correct.
A regular, uh-huh.
You know, one of the lessons I had in color was I was painting landscapes, but I thought, how do you harmonize really intense color like Matisse did or some of the other colors?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so I started these geometric paintings, and I would draw a circle, paint a circle, and then I would paint a triangle on part of the circle. And then I would find these other geometric forms and layer the colors all over one another. And I called this series I did the geometry of art, the geometry of light.
Of light.
Because color is really light.
Yes.
All light. And you can see it through the way the transparencies in the paint come.
Yes. Well, you have come to a four-way stop and made a decision to make a right turn and step out of the at the intersection of the common landscape to the abstract.
Right. The thing is that I still do both. I'll go out one day and paint a landscape, or I'll take some sketches, do some sketches outside, and take some photographs and bring them in, lay them on the floor, and then do a painting from my experience there. Not necessarily plein air, but the experience. When I'm in the studio, there's something I can get that I can't get outside, and it's the kind of the feeling that I had when I was sitting there looking at, why did I stop here? What is it about it? What's the emotion that's generating inside me because I saw it?
Yes, yes. Well, now, I love oils. I love the, shall we say, the transition or the blending of the colors together at a certain point. You use what, mainly, do you use acrylic?
I use mainly acrylics.
So blending acrylics, my past, seem like those are a little
hard.
bit more difficult
It is
to
hard.
blend, but you have you have mastered that,
Yeah.
as you'll see in these paintings before you.
You know, I'll tell you a little bit of experience here. I started out as a watercolor painter, really, and I learned how to just take that water and blend things and make the designs on watercolor paper. And then I got frustrated because I couldn't get enough color. I started putting gouache on them, and the gouache would crack or whatever. And then I went full scale into oils, and I painted mostly oils all that time. But I was painting with a teacher that he used a lot of impasto oils, and I didn't like wallowing around in all that paint.
Oh, I see that impasto.
And so I started, what can I do with acrylics? And because I'm a watercolor painter, I started painting very thinly in acrylics, like a watercolor, and then I would build up the color very, very slowly. Layering.
I believe in layering, and that just really shows form.
Right, exactly. So you can see in most of the paintings you'll see here, they started out as looked like a watercolor, and then I slowly built up the paintings. Slowly built up the paintings.
That's how you achieve it.
That's how I achieve it, definitely. There's no question about that.
Yeah, secret.
I'm not sure so much if it's secret. It's just it's a way. It's a personal way for me to be able to get to the end point that I want, which is a desired form, but with intense color.
And the manipulation of that.
Right. Sometimes,
medium.
by the way, I will and to get thicker paint or to be able to get the kind of texture that I want, I'll mix it with marble dust or other kinds of.
Oh, I see.
And then I can see the texture in the work.
Marble dust. Okay.
So there are other, you can use, you know, the commercial textural kind of products you can buy. I found marble dust gives me a kind of a granular texture that I like.
Which you can control.
Yes, exactly. I can control.
Now, do you ever use the acrylic and oils on top of acrylic?
Yes, I do.
For your
In
blend?
fact, if I can't get to the point that I want with the acrylics, I will go to oils, and I will use oils as a top base. I saw some painters in London doing this very thing. I thought, wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that many people were doing that. But there are definitely advantages in oil. I mean, I can see that.
Now remember, you can paint oils on top of acrylics, but you can't get by with painting acrylics on top of oils.
No, you cannot, because there's
So
a peel
remember
off.
that. And there's people that have argued with me, maybe have tried it. I haven't seen their paintings cracking 10 years later because I haven't been there to see them. But I do know, not from experience, but from the viewing, some of them will say, well, what is this mixed media? Yes, those are acrylic oils, and you have these cracks. It's just not working, you know.
Yes, exactly.
So great. Well, what's real quick, what is your procedure? You start with a sketch, do you start with a photograph, or you just go out in plein air and it gives you and you continue on?
Well, two different things, you know. Outside, I have a little sketchbook with me if I'm painting outside, and I'll do it just a kind of a quick sketch to kind of see the elements of the form, and then I start painting immediately. And I sometimes don't even draw anything on the canvas or on the board. I just start putting paint out when I'm outside, because time is
yes.
a critical. Inside, I will often draw something like a landscape or an abstraction. I'll give some elemental lines on it, and I'll preserve those elemental lines with a combination. I'll use a little bit of matte medium and with water, and I'll spray it on the pencil that I'm using or on the charcoal, depending on what it may be. Let it dry, and then those lines are preserved instead of being washed away.
Oh, that's a great tip.
So it's a tip and a technique that I think helps. If you need the structural lines to understand where the painting, where you're going to go with the color, or where you're going to go with the form.
Excellent, great idea. Well, John, recently I went to John's gallery at Orr Street, and saw a lot of work on exhibit there in Columbia, Missouri. So naturally I had to film it. So what I'm going to do is give you a little teaser, and then we're going to have a second shooting or production that you'll have to go to and see the complete tour. So, but do you want to sort of introduce that?
I 4 years ago, I left the university. They were offering, incentives, and so I retired. And I opened up a studio at Orr Street, which is a cooperative studio in downtown Columbia. And I have a studio there that I've been working out of. It started out, I had 3 suite mates, and then it came down to 2, and then I just took over recently the entire studio. I'd love to have you come down if you have time. If you're in Columbia, my contact information is on the website, so please give me a call or send me an email, and I'm happy to meet with you at the studio. You can see some of these things that Rick is going to show when he was down there. I had a great visit with him when he came to my studio and took the tour of the whole thing.
Yes. Now I got to see one of your favorites there. I believe that was a painting of your time spent as an artist visiting your son in Hong Kong.
Right, exactly.
Tell us about this downtown lighting again. These Hong Kong shots, you're going to see a lot of those in the tour. Not shots, but the Hong Kong paintings, my shots with the camera, yes. Well, talk about your favorite here.
Okay, this painting was done actually while I was back in Columbia, but it is directly inspired by all the drawings and that I did in Hong Kong. My son lives there, and I had a chance to get an apartment there for a couple months, and I wound up working at a co-op studio in Hong Kong with other artists, and they actually exhibited my paintings there for a month after I left. This particular painting, what was inspired was some of the construction elements that I would see going up in Hong Kong, and of course the high-rise buildings there. And I could draw or paint, a high-rise or something that I saw there, but this tried to combine all of the feelings that I had when you're in a large city like Hong Kong with enormous high-rise buildings and the color and the light that comes from the sunshine as it hits these buildings. So I spent, I think, probably 2 months or more on this particular painting.
Oh my!
And you can see that it's very detailed. There's a lot of linear elements in it. But when I finished, I felt like I had captured something about Hong Kong that I wasn't able to do in a realistic drawing or a realistic painting. These elements all came from my sketchbook, and the color came mostly from memory and from imagination. It was an exciting painting for me, and I'm happy to say that a patron from St. Louis bought this. I was at doing an exhibit in St. Louis, and she was looking at another painting, and then she looked at my website and saw this painting. She said, "Oh, This is the one. This is the
Yes.
one.
Oh,
So I brought it to her house, and she wound up buying this particular
Well,
painting.
what John is trying to explain to you, I was at Hong Kong and on certain occasions, on missions that we called it, in the Army Security Agency, and so I definitely had to take some time off. So Hong Kong visits, having suits made, what have you. But what I'm getting at is the lighting of the Hong Kong nights. And what John is trying to capture in my mind are those lights. And he's done a great job
Yes,
at it.
there's actually several paintings that I did just on Hong Kong nights. One of them is a larger vertical painting that looks at the kind of the feeling of neon lights in Hong Kong. And another smaller painting looks at the same subject matter at night, but it's smaller and it's trying to get the feeling of a darker night, not all of those bright neon lights.
I see. Well, Mr. Fennell, I want to thank you once again for contributing to Spotlight on the Arts. It's really been inspiring to visit with you and has been really an informational, educational, and some tips along the way experience for everyone. So thank you so much for joining me today on Spotlight on the Arts.
It's been my pure delight. Thank you so much for asking
Thank
me.
you.
I appreciate
Well,
it.
do you have any closing words for the world? Someone's laid the paintbrush down or the sketchbook. Have any inspiring words for them?
You know, I guess for me, painting is now my life. It is something that inspires me every time I go into the studio. It's not easy. It's hard sometimes to say, what am I going to do next? How do I see the next painting? What can I do with it that may not repeat myself? And I'd said to anybody who's an artist, that's our chief goal, is to be able to keep painting, to be able to keep creating, to be able to find something of beauty that you see outside or in your mind, and then try to bring that to other people. And hopefully they will see the same thing that you saw when you were painting it.
Well, thanks again, John. John speaks, you can tell, sincerely from the heart. You can surely feel this in the interview today. So thank you for sharing from your heart, John.
Well, you're quite welcome. I don't think I can do anything but.
Yes, I hear you. Well, that wraps up another look at an inspiring artist here on Spotlight on the Arts. Thank you, viewers worldwide, for joining me here today. I want to ask you to continue to stay healthy and safe. And don't forget to subscribe to GIAJ, Global Media OTT Network. It's a streaming network. We're connected, same as Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV. I have a channel, and so you can see it. All these artists, 175 plus artists that I've interviewed since year 2016, and beginning with Spotlight on the Arts. And before that was Mid-Missouri Art News. So please join us on GIAJ Plus if you want to shorten it. So stay healthy, and I look forward to visiting with you next time here with another great artist here on Spotlight on the Arts. See you next time.
Creative, connection, control. Support the arts and be the change. 24 hours a day, 200 countries. The show must go on. Introducing the world's first exclusive platform for artists and creators of all kinds. The biggest stage on earth.
Stream Spotlight on the Arts on fanforme.com. Stream Spotlight on the Arts on GIAJ, Global Media OTT Network. Google us or find us on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, or Apple.tv.
Hi, I'm Rick J.
And I'm Jeffrey Purnell.
And we're here to introduce you to
GIAJ Global Media OTT Network.
Hope you'll tune in.
Tune in and watch all the great shows by independent producers, music, and film, and podcasts.
Roku
Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV,
and or Google us on GIJ Global Media Network.
Get your free download now. Thank you.